You've heard it before. You are your own competition. Stop comparing yourself to others. Oh, this is the message we hear everywhere. But have you ever wondered why? Why are we constantly told to not compare ourselves to others? What is so wrong with comparing ourselves to others? In fact, isn't that a healthy thing to do? I mean, if we want to grow, improve, evolve, change, is the end looking at people ahead of us in some way going to inspire us to take action and become better? In this video, we're going to dive deep into the whole you are your only competition concept. We're going to explore what it really means, where it comes from, and how we can use it to our advantage. If you're ready, let's get into it. So imagine for a moment that there were two kids. Let's call them Alex and Billy. Alex and Billy are best friends. They love playing together and they love competing against each other in all types of activities. But one day their parents signed them up for a soccer camp. And because there are more kids at the soccer camp, Alex and Billy aren't playing on the same team. One kid has to play offense while the other plays defense. So now Alex is on the blue team and Billy is on the red team. And at the end of the first practice, the coach tells both of them, hey, listen, tomorrow during the scrimmage, I want you to keep an eye on the other team and see how well you are doing compared to the other team. The next day comes around and both teams are playing pretty well. It's neck and neck. And when the whistle blows for the end of the game, both Alex and Billy run over to their respective parents. Alex tells his dad, I did great. I scored 3 goals. His dad replies, that's amazing, champ. Then Billy runs over to his mom and dad and says, I think I did pretty bad today. I didn't score any goals. And Billy's dad replies, nonsense. You gave 100%, and that's all that matters. Now, this story seems pretty straightforward. But let's dive deeper into it. Both Alex and Billy were told to compare themselves to someone else. For Alex, he was told to compare himself to the other team. For Billy, he was also told to compare himself to the other team. The only difference between these two boys is that one scored 3 goals and the other didn't score any goal. So their results differ. Therefore, based on what their coaches told them, their opinions about themselves also differ. One felt good about himself and the other didn't feel good about himself. Now, here's the kicker. Did either of these boys actually do bad or did both of them do great? Well, this is where things get interesting. Here's the thing. We don't know whether or not they did good or bad, because we were told how the other team did. If the other team didn't score any goals, then both Alex and Billy outperformed the other team. But if the other team scored 5 goals, then the blue team lost and the red team lost. And in this scenario, Billy would have done better than Alex. This story illustrates a simple truth. We cannot determine whether or not we are doing well unless we know how others are doing relative to us. Now, I am not saying that you should compare yourself to others all the time, but it's important to understand why we should not compare ourselves to others. First, when we compare ourselves to others, we are often comparing ourselves to an inaccurate representation of that person. Just like how Alex and Billy's performance depended on how the other team performed, we often have no idea how other people are doing. When we compare ourselves to others, we are assuming that the person we are comparing ourselves to is performing at their highest level. But we have no way of knowing this. It is possible that the person we are comparing ourselves to is barely trying and we have no way of knowing. Second, even if we accurately know how that person is doing, we still might be comparing the wrong things. It is possible that the things that we are comparing are things that are completely out of our control. Let me explain. Let's say there are 2 students named Charlie and David. Charlie and David are in the same class, and they are friends. And one day their teacher tells them, hey, listen, tomorrow during the quiz, I want you to keep an eye on the other person and see how well you are doing compared to the other person. The next day comes around, and David bombs the quiz while Charlie does pretty well on the quiz. So afterwards, David runs over to his dad and says, I think I did pretty bad today. And David's dad replies, nonsense. You gave 100% and that's all that matters. Now, again, this story seems pretty straightforward. But let's dive deeper into it. Did Charlie do good or did he do bad? Well, the answer is we don't know because we don't know how David did. But here's the kicker. Even if we knew that David completely bombed the quiz, would that tell us anything about Charlie's performance? The answer is no. The reason is because the things that Charlie and David are comparing are completely out of Charlie's control. Charlie cannot control how David performs on the quiz. Therefore, comparing himself to something that is out of his control is completely useless. If Charlie and David were comparing things that were within Charlie's control, then it would be a different story. Let me explain. Let's say, instead of comparing their raw scores, they decided to compare their grades. Let's say both David and Charlie got a C on the quiz. In this scenario, David can easily argue that Charlie probably studied more and therefore Charlie deserved the grade of C while David deserved a higher grade. And Charlie would probably agree because it's likely that Charlie did study more than David. This is an example of comparing the right things. And in this scenario, the comparison is useful. Now, I am not saying that you should always compare yourself to others, but I am saying that you are your own competition advice is flawed. The reason is because many times we cannot know how others are doing relative to us. And many times we are comparing things that are out of our control. So if we shouldn't compare ourselves to others, then how should we motivate ourselves? How can we improve and make progress? The answer is pretty simple. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we should just compare ourselves to ourselves. The question is, how do we do that? How do we compare to who we used to be? Well, the solution is pretty simple. All we need to do is set a goal for ourselves and then measure our progress towards that goal. That's it. It's that simple. As long as we make progress towards our goal, then we are improving. And as long as we continue to move forward, we will eventually get to where we want to go. But here's the thing. Setting a goal for ourselves and then measuring our progress towards that goal is easier said than done. It asks hard to figure out what our goals should be, and it asks hard to measure our progress. And that's why in my app, I built a goal setting and progress tracking system that makes the entire process of setting goals and tracking your progress towards those goals extremely easy. It takes you through an extremely intuitive process to help you set the right goals and then gives you helpful suggestions on how you can track your progress towards those goals. For example, if you want to set a goal to work out more, the app will suggest several different ways that you can track your progress, such as how many days you worked out or how many steps you took. The reason why I made this app is because I've struggled with procrastination and lack of motivation for most of my life. And after hitting rock bottom in college, I decided that I needed to find a way to motivate myself without relying on willpower. Because the thing about willpower is that it's a finite resource and we all run out of it eventually. So after researching different ways to motivate myself, I discovered the power of goal setting and progress tracking. And since then, my life has completely changed. And now I'm on a mission to help others experience the same thing. Okay, so if you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe. And if you want a more detailed explanation of why the you are your own competition advice is wrong, then check out this video here. I'll see you next time.